morning, good afternoon, or good evening. My name is Tony Hernandez Pumarejo. I'm an advocate for all of those that are in the autism spectrum and for the whole autism community. I'm the author of the book called An Autism Unscripted Life, which talks about my life in the autism spectrum from childhood all the way to adulthood. In this book, I talk about the challenges that I went throughout all my areas of life and how I was able to overcome those challenges in order to achieve key goals in my life, such as graduating from college, getting full-time employment as manager, be able to write my first ever book, do speaking engagements, and more important, be able to achieve the advocacy work, do my work in the community, in the autism community, and many other, I also talk about my hobbies, and I also talk about many other things. So An Autism Unscripted Life, which I also have it in Spanish, Una Vida Autista Sin Libreto. So both books are available on Amazon, so if you want to learn a little bit more about my story, get your copy today in Amazon. Thank you very much. So today's video, I've been thinking about doing this video for some time now, but I didn't want to just do a video to just mention this, but I wanted to make sure that I was getting the right message for our whole community, because as an autism community, we have things that unite, that we have in common, but also there are challenges and issues in our community right now that have not been solved yet, and in order to achieve the mission that we all have in the autism community, which is to achieve this goal of helping each person in the spectrum, regardless of the functionality level, to achieve a better quality of life and more independent life, we need to be able to solve these issues, these challenges that we have in our community. And in order to do that, we need to take care, in other words, of our house. We need to have a more united community in order to educate our society about the challenges that people with autism face, and the most important thing, to create the programs and the services that will help each person in the spectrum, regardless of the functionality level, to achieve a great quality of life and achieve his or her purpose in this world. So I wanted to talk about this because I've been looking at, for the last some time now, I've been looking, for example, at the different topics being discussed in social media. For example, issues with organizations, which I won't mention names, or having different types of debates in regards to different things within the community. For example, whether autism needs to be cured or not to be cured, or autism is a disease or not a disease, that this organization is against people with autism, or they need to find a cure, or the right term of addressing people in the spectrum is autistic, not with autism. Overall, different topics that have been debated and discussed in our community, which many of you that are watching right now are very familiar with. Those are in debates that we've been having in the community for a very, very long time. And even though there have been progress in regards to the diagnosis of autism in some areas, in different areas of the world, and also there have been improvements in regards to more services and more programs being created to help people with autism, there's much more that needs to be done in order to help our overall community. Not to mention the fact that very recently I've been looking at the different news articles, videos, social media, and also in the news about different types of situations that affect us all in our community, not only in the United States but also in other parts of the world. For example, from where I live in Florida right now, there's in under consideration budget cuts into the Medicaid waiver program that helps thousands of Floridians that have not only autism but also any other disabilities. Right now, those budget cuts are being considered right now, which will create even more problems, not only for people with autism and other disabilities, but also for their families. Even worse, these cuts will create more problems and will make our society less functional, in other words. So those are the issues, not to mention the fact there's other issues affecting our community, the autism communities and other disabilities, like the issues with the Baker Act, some of the bills that are being considered right now in the state legislature, both the House and the Senate, like the elopement bill, putting cameras in the classrooms and doing different things to solve the different types of situations that are happening in Florida schools as it relates to students with disabilities. Those things are happening right now. And I'm only mentioning Florida. If I go, also there's an issue going on in Puerto Rico in regards to a law that's being considered for special education, which will take more funds and will cut more services for students that with a disability that are part of the special education program. Some of these cuts are being considered right now in Puerto Rico, which will create more problems, more problems than what they have right now in regards to this population of students, children that have different types of disabilities and their families, because the special education population has been, they have been mistreated, they have been ignored for a very long time throughout different areas of this world. And that's one of the things that is happening over there in Puerto Rico, not only in Puerto Rico, but also right now in Chile. There's an issue, and because of the situation with the government and the cuts of services, the proposed cuts in services are affecting people with a disability, students with a disability and their families. And right now there's protests right now in Chile, not only in this area but also because of the services that are being cut by the government. Right now there's a pushing for a new law that will help people with autism in Chile right now, which provide better programs, better services, and more important, which will create a better society. So, and I only mentioned the government part. Recently, there have been two sad cases of vicious attacks and hate attacks against people with autism. For example, recently a young autistic, young teenager with autism was viciously attacked and murdered in Brazil. With no provocation, without doing anything to anybody. This young, innocent boy, teenager with autism was murdered in Brazil. All because he was different, and because of a hate, and because of a result of a society that sadly is still, most of it, indifferent to people with this autism and other disabilities. And recently today there was a news article that in the UK, in the mental health programs, they report about the horrible conditions that children with autism are facing at the UK mental programs, mental health institutions, which is it's a very, very sad thing that is happening. And only the cases that I've been mentioning here are just a sample of the thousands of cases that are happening around the world against people with autism, their families, and the community, and other disabilities. So right now, even though progress has been made, Recently, there was here in the United States, they approved the Autism Cares Act, which provides more funding for autism, which is a step in the right direction. Much more needs to be done in order to create more, not only create more awareness, but also more acceptance, having more of a commitment from the community in society, and more important, to take action now to further push more programs and services that will help each person with autism and other disabilities to achieve a better quality of life, regardless of the functionality level. So overall, what I just mentioned are some of the challenges, situations, and situations that are happening in different parts of the world in regards to our community. But in order to achieve and to fight and to educate our society, especially educate our governments about the importance of pushing more programs and not cutting programs that our students with a disability need, we need to unite more as a community, as one autism community. If we don't unite as one autism community, then society will continue to put our community on the side, and will continue to ignore millions and millions of people with autism and other disabilities. And we cannot continue to let that happen. So my call today, as an advocate, as a person in the spectrum, my call for all of you as a society is to put, as a community, to put our, the different issues and debates that are going on right now in our community. Let's focus on what unites us as a community, so that way we can go to our society and educate them, especially educate our government, so that way people with autism can receive the help they need, not in the future, but what they need now. So that's my call for action for today. So if you have any questions, anything that you'd like to comment, whether you agree or disagree with my position, feel free to write down below. But one thing is for certain: we need to unite as one autism community. If we don't unite, as it is said, united we stand, divided we fall. So thank you so much for being here with me today. And this is Tony Hernandez Pumarejo, and you have a wonderful day, afternoon, or good evening. I'll see you later. Bye-bye.